Hello everyone, welcome to our YouTube channel IIPS, the Educational Incubator. I'm Sandravas, your host today, and the topic we have got is economic systems. This subtopic of economic systems is coming under our entire video series of Introduction to Economics, where you can find the link above. Go and check our entire video series regarding Introduction to Economics, where you can learn the other concepts in a much more clarified manner. Let's see what we have got today in terms of this subtopic of economic systems. Economic systems is the formation to solve three basic economic problems. We know in this world, in this economics, we do have three basic economic problems. If you wonder what is the three basic economic problems, it is identified as what to produce and in what quantity to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. If you need more clarification regarding these three economic problems, go and check the link above. Check the video regarding the three basic economic problems and its clarifications. Coming back to this topic of economic systems, these three basic economic problems is very crucial for someone who study economics, because the economic system is the systematic formation which is set up to solve these three basic economic problems, and every economic system has its own set of rules, laws, norms and guidelines. And in the coming slides, what we're going to learn is how these economic systems differentiate and how they behave and how they get involved in solving these three basic economic problems. Also, what we need to identify is every economic system have players who make economic decisions. As an example, households, business firms, labor organizations, non-government organizations and market, etc. We can find other more players as well. There are ample of players who make economic decisions, and these are among the crucial who make economic system, who can make decisions in economic system. Now let's see what are the reasons for the variety of economic systems. We know there are different types of economic systems, and now we're going to discuss and talk about the reasons which cause this variety. And basically there has been three main reasons which cause the variety and differentiation among the economic systems. The first one is the ownership of property, resources and rights. In here, what we discuss and argue is that we're going to question who own the property resources. Property resources as an example, the land, labor, capital and entrepreneurship. In here, we're going to ask and question who own these property resources and who have got the rights to sell it and to get an income out of it. In here, the question is all about the property ownership and its factor morbidity. The differentiation, the variety would come upon its ownership, whether it's publicly owned, or basically it means the government hold the ownership, or else whether it's privately owned, where the little household, the individual people, they hold it, or whether the government hold it. Based upon that, the variety comes into play among the economic systems. Not only that, the second thing is the methods of solving basic questions, basic economic problems. I mentioned in the previous slide that the economic systems main focus and primary objective is to solve these basic questions of the economy, and upon the way, the method, how these economic systems solve the basic questions, the variety also comes into play. And we can find three main ways to solve these basic questions of the economy. The first thing is price mechanism, second one is central plan authority, and the third one is a mixed method. Talking about the price mechanism, you can find the link above. You can discuss and you can watch more regarding price mechanism because it's a very big concept and a very important concept. Check the video above. Other than that, price mechanism is identified as The Invisible Hand by Adam Smith, where the price mechanism is, in general terms, it is called as the price, the invisible hand of price. These price mechanisms is behaving upon the demand and supply forces. In here, the specialty is that no one comes into play to set the price. The price is automated and it is set upon the factors, upon the forces of demand and supply, where the government has no impact regarding setting up the prices. So the problem of what to produce and in what quantity to produce, how to produce, and even for whom to produce is all set upon this price mechanism. The next one is the Central Planning Authority. This is like much government, where this Central Plan Authority, we call this as CPA. CPS is set by the government authorities. This is a central plan body whom would decide what to be produced and in what quantity to be produced. They're going to identify the needs and requirements from the bottom up level, and then they're going to say, we'll produce this amount of this and we'll produce this. As an example, they can suggest for a year they're going to produce 10,000 tons of paddy and maybe 10,000 odd garments. This is all a decision made by the Central Plan Authority, where it is much more government driven. The third one is the mixed system, which is where the government comes into play and even the price mechanism also behaving in the market. The best example we can set is a mixed system where the price set the price of the market, or else the demand forces and the supply forces set a price in the market, and if the government feel like it is unfair for either for the consumer or else for the producer, they can set a minimum price or else a maximum price. These kind of interventions are mixed way of solving the three basic economic questions. So the variety comes upon the ownership of property resources, or else in the way of solving the basic questions. And the last one is the incentives, the driving forces which influence on the decision making units. These incentives will also make the varieties among the economic systems. And we can find a couple of incentives, a couple of types of incentives. The first one is the material, monetary incentive. To make a crucial decision, the decision makers are being motivated and encouraged based upon the material or the monetary perspective of the outcome of the decision. The second one is the moral. In here, no monetary thing can persuade your decisions. This is merely a moral incentive or moral decision. The third one is the cohesive, or else by force. We call it as by force, cohesion. So these three methods or these three incentives cause the variety of economic systems. Going back, economic systems are primarily set to solve the three basic economic problems. Yet, not only the way of solving these three basic economic problems, other two reasons of ownership of property resources and the incentives make a variety among the economic systems. Now let's see about the economic system classification. Economists and the different schools of economics have identified these few as the main economic system classification or the varieties of economic systems. The first one is the primitive communal system. The second one is the slave social system. Third one is the feudal social system or the feudalism, and even the alternative economic systems. Basically, the first three, the primitive communal, slave social, and the feudal social systems are no longer prevail in the current modern economic context. The contemporary world does not hold such an economic system. Because of that, we are going to give much focus regarding the alternative economic systems classification. In there, the part is we do have 4 subparts under the alternative economic systems, or like we call this as the modern economic systems. The first one is the traditional economic system. Second one is the market, or else we call this as capitalists economic system. Third one is the command, or else central plan, or some might call as a socialist economic system. The final one is a mixed economic system. Majority of the world holds like this way. Now let's put all these economic systems classified in one page so that we can see the variety, the reason behind the variety, and how this economic system change from one to another. Right, so we have got a little grid, a summarized grid, where you can find the criteria, then you can find the different types of economic systems and how these vary from one to another. I mentioned the main 3 reasons behind the variety of causing these classification of economic systems are the property ownership, the method of solving the economic problem, or as one can call as the coordination and communication mechanism, then the incentive behind the crucial decisions. Other than to that, I have taken government role and freedom as a criteria to define and to differentiate this economic system from one to another. Now let's see how the property ownership as a criteria comes into play to differ and to have this variety among the different types of economic systems of traditional, market, command, and mixed. When it comes to the traditional market or the traditional economic system, the property ownership of resources are basically relied upon the traditions or else the religious customs or norms. In here, no one says there is a specific way to identify the property ownership. That is the specialty in traditional economic systems. To be honest, in practice, these traditional economic systems are no longer, or like rather less prevalent in the modern economic systems. These traditional economic systems are also being faded away with the time, where now the world has shifted into the latter part of economic classification of market, command, or as mixed. In terms of the market economy or the market economic system, the property ownership is held by the private entities. The private entities make the crucial decisions regarding their property ownerships. They make the choice regarding whether they are inputting their property or the factors into production, or they are keeping them, they are holding them for themselves. In a command economy, the property ownership is more or less it's public or the government hold. Labor can only be a privately held property, but in some countries, in some contexts, in extreme contexts, even the labor is publicly held, where the government command what to produce and in what quantity and how to produce. So in such a context, the property ownership will be 100% public. In a mixed system, where we're going to discuss a bit more regarding the mixed economics in the coming slides, keeping mixed economics for a while until we go to the next slides. Now let's go forward with the other criteria of economic system classification: coordination and communication mechanism, or in other words, the method of solving the basic economic problems. In a traditional economy, they do have their own traditional way or the unique way which derived upon their traditions, norms and customs in solving these economic problems. But the specialty comes when it comes to the market and command economic systems, where they do have their unique perspective of solving this basic economic problem. In a market economy, the price mechanism is the only tool which used to solve these 3 economic problems, where in a command economy, the central plan authority, which I mentioned in the previous slide, is the pioneer authority or the body which is used to solve these 3 economic problems. And when we talk about the incentives in a traditional economy, moral concepts, moral motives will give incentive in a traditional economy to make economic decisions. But in the market economy, the self-interest, or else we call this as profit, will be the triggering point, triggering way, incentive for market economic players to make their economic decisions. In a command economy, it is much cohesive, or else a forced way of making economic decisions where there is no self-interest, as the property ownership is not held by the private sector. When it comes to the government role, in a market economy there is no government, where on the other hand in a command economy there will be big governments. When we talk about the government role in a market economy, you can find I have put limited in brackets. If there is no government in a market economy, we call it as a free market economy. But not all the time it will be a free market economy. Sometimes there can be a limited role of the government, like providing public goods for the community. So such a way, in a market economy, we can find a very limited role of the government. The best case scenario is to have no role of the government, where on a command economy we do have a big role played by the government in a command economy, even setting up the central plan authority. And in a mixed economy, it depends upon the classification of the mixed economy, where we're going to talk in the coming slides. And when we focus about the freedom in a market economy, we do have the choice and entrepreneurship, the freedom to make choice and the freedom to make entrepreneurs. But when it comes to the command economy, there is no such a way, because the freedom is restricted, as the government is playing a bigger role and the incentive is cohesion. In a market economy, there is this little concept called consumer sovereignty, where it identifies that the consumers do have the power in setting up or deciding what need to be produced. Demand force is so strong in a market economy, where they hinder the prices, they challenge the prices, and they decide what need to be produced. And I have given little examples. So a traditional economy, the Vaddas who live in Sri Lanka, the Aborigines, native tribes are tend to have a traditional economy. For a market economy, the best case can be identified as the states, United States, but some can argue no, the government is playing a big role, so it's not 100%, but the best case scenario is a US. Then the command economy, the North Korea, which is obvious. And for a mixed economy, like the most countries like Sri Lanka, India, these countries are much into mixed economic systems. So this is a one-page classification, one-page differentiation among the different kinds of economic systems. Moving on, talking a bit more about the mixed economic systems, we do have two separate types of mixed economic systems. The first one is the social market and the second one is liberal market. The difference between these two, social market and liberal market, is that this is a mixed economic system where you can find the characteristics of the market economy and the characteristics of a command economy. The difference is that how you placed your mixed economy in a one straight line if the two extreme corners are identified as the market economy and the command economy. So as an example, the social market is a mixed economic structure with much tend towards the command economic system, where you can find the considerable role of the government, and like it is much more into a social market, much more into a command economic system. On the other side, the liberal markets, this is also a mixed economic structure, but with much tend towards the market economic system, much tend toward the liberal market economic system, where the government role is comparatively lower. And you can find the examples below as well. And that is the wrap up for today in terms of the economic system lesson. I hope this was really helpful for you for your identification and clarification regarding the concepts of economic systems. And thank you for watching and keep in touch with us. And if you haven't subscribed us yet, please feel free to subscribe us for more informative videos like this. Like, share among your friends, and comment below if you have any questions and any more clarifications is needed regarding any academic matter. And thank you once again, and please keep in touch with us, and we'll see you from our next video.